I'm not gonna go for too long today, guys. I'll keep it try to condense it in terms of time. But yeah, I thought we'd go over some crypto, some stocks, the usual. Take a look at where we stand, right? So let's take a look. First of all, obviously we got that nice move back to the upside or across our risk on assets because of the news of the 2 week ceasefire, right? Well, if you can call it that, because obviously the dirty Zayas have already started to bomb Lebanon, even though that was meant to be a part of the ceasefire, that Lebanon would be left untouched. Obviously, we know Bibi likes taking his anger out on innocent civilians. He's already started bombing Lebanon as soon as the didn't even last for hours. As soon as the but it's what it is. Like, what can you expect from them, right? But upon the news of the Strait being quote unquote open for 2 weeks, obviously we got that move back up. And listen, yeah, I don't think it's gonna last. I don't think this is gonna last. There'll be more fuckery coming. If anything, I think the only reason that move was even done to begin with was because oil was getting too expensive, right? Because if you take a look at oil, this thing was obviously sat at here we go. It was sat literally up at like 113, 114 when we looked at it last. When we did that like 3.5 hour stream that I put privately for you guys, it was all the way up. In fact, when we were doing that, I was saying, look for that Gartley, right? Look for what happens around the PRZ of that Gartley. We overshot it with bearish divergence, right? So higher highs in price, lower highs in RSI. And the same would be the case for the MACD as well if you were to take a look at that. And then again, it's not a surprise that's where we dropped from. One thing I was telling you guys last time was if you want to line in the sand in terms of trading on a macro, it would be the 886 to 1.618, right? And for anyone that was looking to day trade, it would be if that 112.5 was lost, because that's the mid of that 4 hour seller controlled area. So if you were to now go back and take a look at this on something like the 15 minutes, right, or something like this, you can see that line that we drew on, that was sort of the area we drew on, that zero point 0.5 was turned to resistance many times. They could not get back above it, right? 7th of April 2026. And then that is what really led that gap down right there, right? But even before then, like you had weakness coming at the PRZ, like all of that. But the really nice short was right over there, in my opinion. In terms of risk to reward, it was there, it was there. Right? There was lots of opportunities here on oil. And now we've once again just gone to the bottom of the consolidation range that I put on again last stream. There, and we've held off it for now, so we're bouncing. Is this simply a higher low before we go higher? I don't know, right? We could go and, technically speaking, on something like the 4 hours, that's a break of structure, right? The last higher low that led to that higher high has been taken out in this leg. So we could go up, put a lower high in somewhere here. It's just for us to see, right? We could get the 70s or something. We could get like a gap fill at 60 before we go for the next leg up towards like, new all-time highs or something like that. But all in all, oil on the macro anyway, it looks great. Like I don't think it looks terrible whatsoever, right? All on the macro looks good. Especially imagine if they end up closing this week above previous candle body open. That'd be insane, right? That'd be crazy. So yeah, I'm gonna keep an eye on it. But that 2 week ceasefire news, that they released. Listen, oil was staying too expensive in my opinion. They needed it cheaper to, I don't know, to do whatever they needed to do with it, right? That's why that 2 week ceasefire would have been called. Just watch. At the end of it, my bet would be there is no like sort of obvious resolution. They're just gonna keep dragging it out. 2 weeks for Bibi to do whatever the fuck he wants somewhere else, while Iran has to hold back because of the ceasefire, right? That's why they started bombing Lebanon as soon as the ceasefire went into effect. But yeah, we'll see. Let's take a look though. But yeah, obviously we know that led to nice pump up in the markets, right? And like I was saying, as long as above the 786, you try for scalp the swing longs, right? The 786 we never lost it, and now there's a potential for a bearish bat and also a deep crab to hit. For those of you paying attention to the wave structures, there's a 606, right? Close enough to a 618. The 1.618 would be all the way up over there because obviously we've exceeded that high, right? So 1.618 would take it to 76. The 86 of the bat would take it to 86 2.618 of the bat would take it to 74. So that'd be the target. As long as you can stay above the mid of this box right here, the target would be 74 to 76k. Get above that 77, get above that 79, so on and so forth, right? But let's see if we can actually get above this area first, because it is at resistance, right? We can see that locally speaking. Still within the range, right? You just bounced off the bottom of the channel, bounced off the Garley 786, just key level bounce, so on and so forth. In terms of trading, like this is super, that's the whole reason I shared this in crypto chat, saying as long as you're above the 786 here, you try for scalp to swing longs, right? Because it's easy invalidation. If you lose the 786, you just don't long until you either reclaim that 786 or you go and tag the 886 eventually. It's as simple as that, right? And again, this is what we mean when we say, you know, TA charts will predate any sort of news, because here we got that 786 bounce, right, with bullish divergence, low in price, there was high low in RSI, and then you got that second high low sort of structure, right, that came in. Like if you switch over to the daily, you can see that coming in right over here, right, all above the 786, right, you didn't lose it. So you're above this, you see price getting closer to the 786, you just take a shot there, that's it. You lose it, you get out. That was the invalidation given, right? You lose 786, you get out. And once 786 is maintained, all of a sudden you get the pump up, right? You get the pump up, and then all of a sudden, 2-week ceasefire, so on and so forth, to give you that next leg of volume to the upside. But yeah, let's see. Now we're at resistance. I obviously wouldn't advise to take any sort of fresh longs right at this area, right? Not until you start flipping some of these peak highs into support. But yeah, you know, let's see how this develops. Yeah, Iran demands Bitcoin for trades on moves. I saw that as well. I think it's fire, to be honest. That's a good way to do it. That's what I'd do. Just take payments in Bitcoin. But yeah, this is Coinbase. No, this is Binance. That's fine. Let's go to here. Let's look at the Coinbase chart. Just chopping around our ever so important yearly levels, right? Not yearly levels, sorry. Cycle levels, in fact. The cycle volume levels. On a macro wave structure, like, you know, you wouldn't be surprised. One's already hit, obviously. We know the top of one's already hit. But I'd love to get 2, 3, and 2. I'd love to get 3. 3 would be then a really nice one. You know, do we get it? I don't know, right? I'm not here to try and predict exactly when the bottom is going to happen. My sign is to try and find those signs of bottoming happening, right? For all we know, it might end up happening here. Who knows, right? The chances of that, in my opinion, are low, but it could happen, right? So we just gotta, you know, pay attention to the actual price action happening. The leg down, right? The standard deviation one of that also got reclaimed into support here. If you can see that, that's another piece of data we had going for us right over here. There we go. In that retest, right? You literally put a smiley around it. Initial support, radar liquidity, reconfirmation and support, and that sent you the next leg higher. But yeah, there's not much to do where we currently are, right? There's not much to do where we currently are. It's just been one big chop fest. Like if you're actively trading this with leverage, then you've got really, and that's why I give you guys, even if I'm a bit more just mainly dry powder right now, that's why I also give you guys those. For example, on crypto chat, like I said, above the 786, you take the bet, right, to the upside. I give you clear invalidation, clear entry level. There's one line in the sand. It's nothing confusing whatsoever. It's not like I'm giving you 3 levels and asking you to just, entry DCA1, DCA2. You have one line, 65, 653, right? When I last said, if you guys want to take shots, as long as you're above the 65, 653 area, as long as that's successfully holding, that's the area. I mentioned that here, right? And then you've got the bullish divergence raid. Even if I'm not going to be actively trading every single move here, because there's no point, right? You know, I've given you guys the actual level, the invalidation, to trade it yourselves. It's just one line in the sand. It was a 786, and that wasn't lost. It's what it is. It wasn't lost, so we went higher to the next targets. So that's Bitcoin. I think let's see if we can get that 74 to 76 now. Right? Let's see. Just range bound, really, though, isn't it? Just range bound. But I do like the strength. Right? The strength was nice. It was nice to see actual movement back to the upside coming in. So that's BTC. And what about BTC volume profile? Where is it? going on? There we go. But in terms of Binance, we haven't actually broken above that level we need to, right? Again, where do we go to close? Standard deviation 1.5, value area high from last cycle on Binance. There we go. So don't forget, just do a mix of big Binance and Coinbase. In my opinion, that's the best way to do it. Has anyone already bought some spot Bitcoin? I'm curious to see if any of you have. Hey Jasper, how you doing, bro? Not yet. Yeah. Coinbase, yep, that's fine. Perpetual, that's fine. Let's take a look. Doge. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to go over ETH real quick, and then there's a few composite tickers that most of you should be aware of them because I've gone over them before. But just in case anyone's forgotten or they don't remember, we can take a look at that. So Ethereum. Obviously, we know Ethereum had a wave structure completion, right? It was the 886, again, 3.0886, right? We know it's not a proper bat in the sense that it's a bit deep here. It's 1.618, 2.618 typically for a bat. But I don't care, right? The fact of the matter is the 886 was hit. And a 3.0 is still a valid extension. It's a fib target, right? It's the 3.0 extension. So you've got the 86 3.0 area right over here. We know that got hit, right? I pointed out as soon as it happened. And we also know that we had a secondary harmonic create at the completion, right? We know there was a 618, the 786 of the Gartley. Don't know what that's at the 74, doesn't matter. But we know there was the 786 completion as well. In fact, this was so nice. If you guys remember, you take the measured move of the harmonic, you're not going to be surprised to find where we topped out on ETH is literally there, the primary extension of the harmonic, right? So this one was a beautiful wave structure, and wave structure completion, right? In effect, Ethereum, in my opinion, looks really, really good, right? It looks really, really good here. Can't lie, it does. Like we know we had this, let me see, why did I mark it out? It was a buy-seller zone, right? Right over here was a buy-seller zone. It was resistance for a long time, resistance, 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 and it's currently attempting to flip into support. So again, if anyone is looking to take some Ethereum plays, right, we're getting the retest to the top of that resistance area right now. And again, you guys know, just look at this one level, right? And if you want some sort of lower time frame deviation, so on and so forth, go to like the 4 hours, the 12 hours, see, okay, for example, it's a 12-hour wick, right? It's a 12-hour retest. We know the daily hasn't closed yet, but at least the 12 hour was successful, right? So here is one. So what you can do is, if you want entries, right, you can firstly, if you want to scalp, you can take an entry where we literally currently are, and then you just say, okay, if we lose the 12-hour, if we lose the 12-hour buy zone high, right? Then you cut. Simple as that, because you want to try again down over here. Because if you're scalping, obviously a 0.44% drop can be lethal if you're using high leverage with size, right? So your first line in the sand, if you're scalping this, would be 2180.26. You lose that, stay out until 2173 to 2171. You lose that, stay out until 2162, so on and so forth, right? You lose to 162, then you're not doing anything until either the mid gets reclaimed or you drop all the way to 2125 again, right? But if you're scalping, don't forget this is a daily retest of a key area, right? 2173.77 is your line in the sand on the daily, right? You do not want to close below 2173.77. Right? As long as you're above that, once again, you can try scalp to swings, right? Very, very easily, you can try scalp to swings. So look for we have got all of these, right? So if we get some sort of move into here, and obviously if there's no reaction from buyers, just don't bid. But if you see, okay, aggressive sellers coming in on the lower time frame and they're looking to get trapped, so on and so forth, you see a rate to reclaim, right? Anything like this, I'd try for a scalp to swing long on Ethereum. Because if you're not going to try here, where are you going to try? There's no point trying somewhere in between, right? There just isn't. Because you have no edge in between. You have an edge here because invalidation is clear. And if you lose that, your next edge would be either once you get back above this again, or you go and hit your next key target. Because if this turns to resistance, there's a shot, we go back towards 2125. So that's just the range, right? You can see. That's what keeps happening. You reject, you go down over here. You accept above, you go up over here. Right? If you don't get above, eventually you don't get above. What ends up happening? You end up going back towards the mid, right? So it's a very good place for you to try your luck if anyone's looking to long some Ethereum. This right here zone. Because there's a 12-hour mid and there's your actual daily high as well. 2173.77, 2171.13. Right? So Ethereum, if you can stay above this though, because don't forget, look at the daily. You know, all of this was resistance, right? Resistance, 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 and you're looking to get above. If you do manage to do that, you go up. If you don't manage to, then you have all of this liquidity. You will have flush at some point, right? So it's just a matter of what comes. But that is Ethereum. Ethereum. I would love to target this, maybe even stab into like consolidation range mid, turn it to resistance, and then just nuke back down. Who knows? We'll see. Yeah, bro, I've got a lingering cough, but apart from that, the fever's gone for the most part, and then the like dizziness that was coming with it. I don't get dizzy all the time now. Just like sometimes it'll come randomly. But once I feel completely better, I can't wait. Damn, bro. I've not been violated like that. I've just been I've not actually been to the doctors. I kind of just digested it. I want to let my body do its thing. In the naughty corner for you for half an hour. Bed Shaker, welcome, bro. CJ, welcome. Got the ladies in here, got the gents in here. Namaste, namaste, Lasso. Sorting system. Oh, do you mean in TradingView, where it's like different sectors and stuff? I need to do that as well. I just get so lazy with it, because the stock list just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So I just put it in one as spacebar. Okay, software. That looks good though. Motor vehicles, semiconductors, telecommunications. I definitely have one for space as well, bro. I think space and quantum. I definitely have those two too. But yeah, that's my thoughts on ETH. Okay, very simple. And what I'll do is, because I think it's about time, I'm going to do what we used to do, like, you know, where I used to go once a week or twice a week, just short stream where I just build out a chart in detail privately for you guys with all the key levels, with my actual system and display, right? Because I don't want to obviously do that public. So I'll just start doing that for these majors, BTC, Hype, ETH, just get the God charts going. We've already got one for BTC, I don't need to do one for BTC, but I'll do one for Ethereum. Actually, have we done one for ETH with the volume? I don't think we have. We might have. But I'll do a fresh one. It doesn't really matter. I'll do a fresh one. And we'll go over, like, you know, things that look good for spot, so on and so forth as well. Hype. Strong, right? I would... My thesis is, if this flips into resistance, I short. If it doesn't flip into resistance, my next short target would be like somewhere basically up over here. I gotta try it, you know what I mean? I gotta try some Titan validation shorts here. Simply because, like, I want this lower. I want Hype. Like, if I want to buy spot Hype, it might be greedy, but I love it at the 786. I love it at the 886, right? Is it too strong to get there? Maybe. Is it going to give us a new high before it gets there? Maybe. I don't know. But all I know is I'm not buying spot here. I have no edge in buying spot over here. I would not be comfy parking, like, you know, 40, 50k in spot, like over here where we currently are. And my whole reason for buying spot majority of the time is because I can park size and forget about it, because I know I'm either right or invalidation is close. I'm not going to lose much if I'm wrong, so on and so forth, right? I just don't have that here. But okay, so before we carry on with this, a few tickers, or rather a few composites I want to go over, right? First and foremost, let's take a look at Dixie. I think it's important we go over these again. Got some weird ones. TRVG stocks. Yeah, I'll take a look at that, bro. Dixie, this is going to be the messy chart, so let's go to a clean chart. I'll go to the bunker chart, that's fine. There we go. This is the view we're looking at on Dixie, right? We know Dixie has had a massive wave structure completion. It's so nice, right? 618, 2.0, right? Deep Gully 86, that's a 2.0. And the 786 just below. We know we front ran the 886, right? It doesn't really matter. In this case, all that's telling us is, supply currently in this area, the bearishness was so strong, you couldn't even go to test the 886 is what you're basically saying. Then you came back down, hit the front run of not front run, but like the top of T1. Again, T1 properly is 382, but I've got a zone, right? I've got 34382. And then you went for that lower high. Confirmation that 786 is indeed resistance. Absolutely gorgeous, right? And this was also beautifully accompanying a accumulation, manipulation, your classic AMD model. And then now this would be your distribution phase. And for all we know, it could be over now, or it might go a bit lower to somewhere a bit lower. That I've got no idea about, right, where it's gonna go. So how deep can this go? I would love for it to go towards here, and hopefully it does, but I don't know when it would, right? But locally speaking, it's so easy to see, right? You've got the 34382, the 34 that was once support, now turning into resistance. And if you get above that, you have this going above you as well. So let me just mark it down there. So if Dixie does have a move up, I'd anticipate for now for it to be something like this. There's your first fair value gap. If you can flip this into support, you'd go for your second, right? Or maybe you just go straight for the second. Attempt to flip to support. If that happens, you might go for like a move back up towards 115, give you like a higher high in price, lower high in RSI, so on and so forth, right? Let's not forget this is a multi-year wave structure. So it might give us it might take a longer time for it to fully play out. If you cannot get above, however, eventually it might just sort of just fizzle out, keep going lower, target 94. If that is lost, then I'll be targeting 87 to 85. Right? So that's the Dixie. And again, historically speaking, you want a weak dollar, right? You want a weak dollar. But right now with all the war stuff happening and oil, so on and so forth, it's a bit more contextual, right? So Dixie wouldn't be a most reliable indicator right now. We know there's USDT and USDC dominance, right? That's something else to look at as well. There's USDT plus USDC dominance. Very close to a 3.618 based on a wave structure, right, on this one. And another thing I'm really looking at this is, this would be insane, right? On USDT plus USDC dominance. We didn't get the M shape, we were looking at the macro. But like I said, it doesn't matter. This is a macro harmonic, right? That's why I was saying, I don't know whether we're going to get this last cycle, which was 2025, right? Or the next cycle. Because we know we were holding, if I put it on, we know we were holding deep value retracements on the diagonal, right? And we were not losing it. So even if you go to that D target, if you roll over from there and then come back down, this harmonic we're looking at last cycle is still valid. Remember, harmonics are not influenced by time, right? So that one I'm going to turn off for now, right? But for USDT plus USDC dominance, right? If we are anticipating some more fuckery and lower in the market still, we think the bottom is not in, that would make sense, in my opinion, to go and hit that 382, 886, 2.618 structure up over here. That'd be an insane area for a potential top to come in, right? And you can look at just USDC and USDT individually obviously, right? But why not just look at them both together, right? Because these are your two biggest stable coins, so I might as well just look at them together. So USDT plus USDC dominance, we know there's that one, right? And then the other ones I want you to look at. Now, you guys will be familiar with this because I mentioned this a lot, right? But I thought I'd share this with the YouTube community as well. This right here is Bitcoin dominance plus USDC dominance plus USDT dominance, right? This is stablecoin dominance and Bitcoin dominance together. Now, this is something I'm going to be keeping an eye on because obviously, what I'm waiting for is just big spot bids, right? Big spot bids. And yes, I've got some spot exposure, but you know, I am powder heavy, right? Because you don't understand the whole reason I'm so relaxed right now is because I've got so much capital. And of course, the XT long and the lemonade short helped a lot, right? That gave me like another £120,000 I can sort of just use and put into spot again. But I'm very cash heavy, right? And what I want to do is, of course, I'm going to be buying BTC, right? I've got BTC, but I mean buying in this dip, right? I've got BTC from like, you know, previous bids from way before. Those are, you know, I'm never going to be completely flatline on BTC. That's not going to happen, right? But actually buying new ones, I want lower prices, right? You know, 60k for me is like, yes, nice. And if like the macro structure is telling me, yeah, this looks like it's gonna hold and this is it, then I'll obviously get some. Doesn't matter if I don't buy the low. But otherwise, I would want, like, you know, a slightly lower prices on Bitcoin, right? But now the question comes, like, alts, right? The question comes to alts, because obviously I'm going to be buying altcoins as well. I'm not just going to be buying BTC and forgetting about it. I'm going to be buying altcoins too, and for those altcoin bidders, for people, anyone here also thinking of getting alts in your portfolio, this is something I'd highly consider. Because again, do not fall into the trap of thinking as soon as the bottom is in, everything's gonna fly at once. It's not. BTC is gonna be the one that catches the big liquidity like injection first. It is, right? So, and this is not going to be help you with, like, you know, this is not going to be like a one-to-one helping you with like scalping on the 3 minutes, so on and so forth. It's really not going to help you with that, right? But this is going to help you make a really informed decision on, okay, is it just a good time to bid some alts and hold them? Because what you want to see, of course, is for a true alt season, you want to see Bitcoin dominance going down, and you want to see that liquidity not going into stable coins. So you have a composite ticker here, which is Bitcoin dominance and stablecoin dominance, right, together. And all that means is, if this is going down, then that's telling you the dominance of stablecoin is going down, i.e. money is not going into stablecoins, but it's not going into Bitcoin either, right? Obviously, it's not going to tell you which crypto is going to, which altcoins is going to. That's, you just look at the, you know, BTC pairings, you look at the narrative, you look at its USDT pairing to figure out, okay, which alt looks good, right? But it's going to be it's like that trigger. It's going to help you make that decision, as in, okay, right, if we're going to be buying alts and it's time for me to think, like, you know, should I be holding these alts, should I be getting rid of them? This is going to be a very good one for you to consider when you're making that decision on the macro. And I really like this because if you look at where we currently are, right, same area, like, you know, nothing's changed. If you want one reason as to why we didn't get like a full-on alt season in 2025, and yes, you know, we were saying we would love for it to get one, and you know, if we were going to get one, it would have been here towards the tail end, right? Because this is where you were coming and you were actually hitting the completion point, right, of the harmonics. You were hitting in this case, you were hitting the liquidity rate of the golden pockets, right? You were hitting that, and you'd also hit the 886 at the bat. So if the break of structure was going to happen anywhere, it would have been because of this, but it didn't, right? The fact of the matter is, we went down and it simply put another higher low in. It simply put another higher low in, right? Which is why, again, we didn't get that full-on, like, you know, alts going parabolic move, right? We didn't get it. Because look, ever since 2021, when the last true alt season happened, right, this thing has just been making higher highs and higher lows, i.e. stablecoin dominance has been increasing and Bitcoin dominance has been increasing, right? Bitcoin's been taking bigger and bigger market cap share as more and more bigger players are coming in. It's been going into Bitcoin. And we've not really seen that liquidity rotation come out of Bitcoin. This is what, even currently speaking, in what is a bear market, 70% 70.48% of the entire crypto market capitalization is in stablecoins and Bitcoin. So why would alts pump right now? It won't. That's the matter, right? But that's not the point. The point is, look where it is on the chart. We've got a 0.5 to the 2.618886. We've got a wave structure completion point. And honestly, I would love for one more move up into this where this makes a higher high. Perhaps that's going to give us like a bearish divergence, right? Lower high on RSI, lower high on MACD. You rate the highs, you put distributive structure around the PRZ, something like this. You get one rate, come down, something like this, right? With bearish divergence. That'd be amazing, right? Because what I want to see is this. That is what I want to see, right? This has been uptrending only. Like, let's go take some of those out, is what we're saying, right? And that, when that moment happens, that's when you get your proper alt season. For those of you that were around in the 2020-2021 bull market, right? Let me show you something. What helped me buy a lot of spot, right, and hold it in alts back then was literally the same. If I was to turn this off, delete that, right? Let me turn this off. Let me turn this off once. And in fact, let me make a group here, right? I want you to pay attention to this right here. This was a wave structure. It was being created during like the move up, right? It was being created for this chart, being created on the move up. Boom, 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 boom. It was a shark, right? It's a very, very nice shark. 2.24. It's not an exact 886. It doesn't matter, right? The 2.24 got hit, and the reaction was strong. And what I want you guys to note is, right? Again, we do not want this going up, right? For alt season. So when this was going up, yeah, like alts were still like slowly climbing up, but they weren't really getting big mad rotations, right? But now we take the measured move of this I from C to D. There's the measured move, right? C to D. Look where this topped out in 2021. January of 2021, the 1.618, right? The primary projection of the harmonic got hit. And then what happened from there? This is basically end of December, start of January, right? Lasted all the way down till May, right? You go on any chart, end of December 2020, basically to May of 2021, right? Any sort of crypto that was around then. Go and try and take a look at ETH, for example, right? There's 2020, right? And Ethereum, here's the end of 2020, right? Start of 2021. You will notice from 2021 all the way up until May, that's when that, look at that, right? May. The insane parabolic phase came in, right? Yes, you were already like moving up. You were already moving up. But the true sort of expansion of our previous all-time highs, look when it came. When that thing was absolutely collapsing. When money was rotating. Right? And it doesn't matter. You can look at any crypto that was out at that particular period. Right? Was Solana? I don't remember if Solana was. Yeah. Solana, right? December. Look. And then January through to May. Notice, look at the expansion. Right? Look at the expansion. And like I said, you can do this with any, right? For example, what are some absolute shitters that are around? Phil. For Phil coin, right? This is a multi-cycle coin. Let's just go with the absolute obvious ones. Bunkerellas, where's Phil? So let's look at Filecoin. 2020, right? End of 2020 is here. Look, start of 2021. Look what happened. Look. This is March, not even up till May. But look when the big parabolic moves came on your altcoins, right? It didn't come in the phase when this was going up, right? When the chart we were just looking at was going up. It came once it started to come back down. That's why I'm saying, that's the reason I'm saying this one is a very, very important one to watch. This one right here. Yeah? We want something like this happening. And it might not happen to the same extent where it just nukes all the way down again, but even from like over here to let's say we do hit the 1.618 again, who knows, right? But eventually, like something like this, that's where that money rotation happens, right? To your altcoins, basically. So you can see what I mean, right? You can use this as a very, very good indication of, okay, but should I be holding these alts, or maybe am I better off just holding Bitcoin for now? As long as this is uptrending, your alts aren't going to catch the rotation. They're not. And right now, it is uptrending. It's as clear as that. We want that. We want some obvious targets to get taken, some externals to get taken, right? Look what happened there. The external liquidity got taken, I want something similar happening again. Maybe go take that, maybe go take the whole thing, who knows. But once that distributive structure starts, that's when your altcoins are really, really going to catch the bid. Listen, markets work in cycles. There's, I don't see a world where this just keeps going up and up and up and up and up, right? Because that would imply that literally every other altcoin, so on and so forth, is just fizzling out and dying. And markets work in cycles. So there will be a period where these get taken. It just doesn't look like it's right now. Right now it looks strong, right? Does that make sense, guys? What the hell is that? I'll take a look at them. So that's a good one. And you can even add ETH to it, right? So Bitcoin dominance plus ETH dominance plus USDT plus USDC dominance. So if you want to know when is money rotating out of both Bitcoin and Ethereum and stable coins, because, if you're going to go back to a true altcoin season, then what you typically see is Bitcoin and then ETH and then everything else, right? But you can see even in this case, like ETH has already hit the Gartley, right? There's the Gartley. If I do this one at a time, there's the Gartley 1.61886, perfectly hit, right? So the question now is, do they give us the 886 or not? And it depends on how much more do we think alts are going to get obliterated, so on and so forth. That's what this depends on, right? But if we get the 886, it'd be insane. I would love for it to get the 886 because that would also line up with the BAT, right? The 2.24 of the BAT, the 886 of the BAT would be here. But we've already hit the first target, which is the 1.618786. So again, what do we want from here? We want the entire thing to be nuking, just like it was back over here. A clear, just straight move to the downside. Clear sign liquidity is coming out. All right. When you see both Bitcoin and stablecoin dominance and Bitcoin and ETH and stablecoin dominance, that's when you're getting those mad moves into Solana, so on and so forth, everything else, right? And then you could add Solana to this if you want to know when you think it's time to get out of Solana, ETH, and Bitcoin to rotate into other things, so on and so forth. If you're leverage trading, if you want to know which to favor, which ticker to look at, which spot to rotate, which profits to rotate into which coin, so on and so forth, right? But like I said, many trading things is trading. People think trading is as easy as just jumping on the charts, drawing a 5-minute line, and just saying, yeah, I'm just gonna enter here, right? It's not. There's so much. If you want to do this properly, you want to do this successfully, you can see how much things you got to consider. None of these are composite symbols. You think I'll just magically thought them. It's no. But it makes sense, right? You think about it logically as you spend more time in the market, and once you put your thinking caps on, you're like, okay, well, this makes sense on a logistical standpoint, right? It makes sense that we want this to be happening. We want Bitcoin to be dropping, with stablecoins to be dropping, and then then you can start applying your TA to charts like that, not to get a read on price, but to get a read on what's not happening, right? This is you're not doing this to get a read on price action, although it would fall under the category. You're not looking at this to try and help you make decisions. You're making informed decisions. A lot goes into making informed decisions, right? But yeah, so those are some composite tickers, right? There's obviously Bitcoin against SPX 500. There's Bitcoin against gold. For example, I don't know if you guys have looked at Bitcoin against gold. It's at 886, right? That's near enough a perfect bat. 0.5, 886, 2.0, right? That's near enough a perfect bat. So now you got to think, okay, Bitcoin's at a perfect bat against gold, right? Meaning that, speaking in terms of charts and technical analysis, this is the area where you would expect Bitcoin to start outperforming gold. And it might not happen straight away, right? It might not happen straight away, but especially if the structure builds up, a cumulative structure, so on and so forth, that would be the read. So now if you have Bitcoin dominance at the start, right? We see Bitcoin dominance is going up. We see that Bitcoin itself is at good areas on the chart, and then we see that, for example, Bitcoin against gold is at the lows, Bitcoin against SPX is at the lows, at the 886s. You got to think, okay, perhaps Bitcoin starts outperforming here. So then you can maybe if you've been actively trading gold, maybe switch back to let's see what I can do on Bitcoin, right? But something else, Bitcoin against gold is at 886s, right? Bitcoin against oil, you can look at Bitcoin against oil, you can look at Bitcoin against Nvidia, you can look at Bitcoin against SPX, right? You can look at so much. Some of the composite tickers, there's this, right? This is total 3. This is a bit long. Let's just do this one. This is total 3 minus USDT minus USDC divided by BTC. If you want a true gauge of altcoin strength, this is another one I'd highly consider. So what this is this is total 3, right? Which we know doesn't include Bitcoin and Ethereum, but includes everything else, right? And you're taking away the stable coins from there. So you've got total 3 and you're taking away the USDT and the USDC, right? And if you wanted to go super deep into it, you could take out like, you know, DAI, you could take out all the other sort of stable coins you have in there, right? You could take those out as well. But since these two are the biggest, just to keep it simple, total 3, take away USDT, take away USDC, right? So that leaves you with just the altcoins minus Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stable coins, and then divide it all by BTC. Right? What does that do? It normalizes it against Bitcoin. So if this goes down, that's not indicative of altcoin strength. But if this starts to go up, that is indicative of altcoin strength, right? And again, it's completed a BAT, right? 886 has already been tagged, Doug. So these things are now at very, very pivotal areas. So all we want is some sort of structure, some sort of higher time frame structure telling us, yes, these 886s, these deep retracements, they're getting validated. That's what we want, right? If Bitcoin takes the lead first, which it typically does, then we expect these to stay lower while, you know, Bitcoin goes up. But eventually, like, you know, Bitcoin's gonna go and Bitcoin's gonna hit key levels, and there'll be resistances, and then there will be a period where altcoins really start going parabolic. And these, right, these composites, they're gonna help you make a very, very informed decision on when that is. Is this a 618? That is perfect. Okay, so we have both a BAT, and the 2.24 is here somewhere also. I'm just going to write 2.24 for now, because the bar has to be at 886. So let's move this to the 886. There, that's fine. And then let's shift on over to the Gartley. From this low to this high, this low, this high, to this low there. The 86 is obviously going to be the same. Or so you'd think. What the hell? One sec. That. What's happened here? Why is it at a different place? Oh, okay. Maybe it's just. Well, we know where the 886 is. Yeah. So you've got a completed Gartley. You've got a completed BAT. You've got completed wave structures. Like, these are the areas where you want to see bottoming signs coming in for alts to really take off. Where you've hit the target, you just want structure now. Because just hitting the target's not enough. For higher time frame moves, you want structure to build, right? You want visible signs that, you know, the big players are settling in, they're digging their fingers in, and this is what they're going to make their stand. But that's another one I'd consider, right? Total 3, take away USDT, take away USDC divided by BTC. This is just some, like I said, some composite charts I think is worth paying attention to. Okay. Let's go back. So that's Bitcoin, that's ETH. Let's take a look. It's not a surprise AVAX is parked here. Don't forget where we are. Standard deviation 1. Point of control, value area low of a significant level. Very, very significant move up, right? that is lost, 1.272 gets tagged to 6.99. If that is lost, well, the only thing you have going for you then is this. Massive M shapes, right? Massive, absolutely huge. Doge, I do want this in my meme coin bag. Doge, Pepe, right? Apu, some of these. But just right now, there's just not enough structure. Like, you know, I'd want, like, I don't care if it's buying slightly higher. I'd want like smiley faces to occur. I'd reclaims of some of these like massive M shapes, right? Right now you're below all of it, which is why I'm not really convinced yet, right? Even if it goes from like, let's say, here to here, I don't care, because if the only thing that's going to lead to is this, I don't give two shits. I don't even care if I have to buy here, right? I don't, because that structure is going to tell me so much more. It's going to make my life so much easier than trying to bottom point below all the key levels in terms of wave structure right now. Ondo still below 1, still below 1. We know PRZ1 is to flip to support. We drew this on last stream, right? Below 1 is 2. Either reclaim 1 for some sort of optimized entry, or you wait to see what happens at 2 again. Because if 2 is lost, I think this goes down to 8-7 cents. Nothing to see on Say. You're waiting for a reclaim of 664. Sol weak as hell. But that was the entry that I gave last stream, right? If you're going to take a shot on Sol, it'd be like this, basically. If you want a wide one, if you want a tight one, it'd be just a stop loss below the mid. So if anyone took that based off last stream, then you're in the green at least, right? You hit the yearly level, trying to maintain the PRZ. But let's see what happens here. See, I have a feeling that eventually this is going to conclude to the upside, right? We're going to grab liquidity from the upside, like 110 Sol, like 80k BTC, something like this, maybe 70, 80k BTC. Sorry, like 77, 80k BTC. But even then, that would not be bullish. Even if you go up here, that's not bullish, right? It's not, because you're probably just going to wind up making another lower high, right? And then I'll just enter some sizable shorts instead. But Solana, we had the 886 completion, right? The deep Gartley. Smiley face of the deep Gartley. We've already talked about this one. And now you've got a buyer-seller zone. As long as you're above this buyer-seller zone, you can try for longs back to the upside, okay? As long as you're above this, you can try for longs back to the upside over here. You get above this, you're talking about going back towards the 95s area, in my opinion. So it's not like, you can't do anything here. If you're leverage trading, like, just split it into 3 lines. You guys know how to do this. Let me just delete it and put it like this instead. Try the 0 first. 81.77. That's lost. You don't do anything until like the mid. That's lost. Like either the low holes for your last attempt, or you reclaim the mid, so on and so forth. But these are the 3 lines on the lower time frame that you would structure your scalps around. You've already had a double bottom of the high here, right? That gave this move up. But it seems like it's fizzled out for now. You've got a lower time frame range. Your range being this one right over here. There. The range mid. So if this range low gets attacked and you raid, reclaim, so on and so forth, like you try that, and then that reclaim you try long there, right? If it doesn't get back above, long and short based on which side is showing the edge, right? These areas basically. Sui, another one that looks good, right? If you guys remember, Sui, below the diagonals I want it to be above right now, but it's at the macro point of control, right, from the lower to high. It's at a completed, just like Ondo, it's at a completed 1.618, right, the deep crab. And if this is your range right over here, which it obviously is, right, there you go. One sec, actually, from this low to this high, that's deviation, resistance, yeah. I would take a shot on this once you get back above range. To be honest, I'd take a shot on this once you get back above this, look. Because the problem with this is even if you take a shot at the mid, which you can take a shot at the mid, but there's a chance this might reject, right? But if you wait for this, then what I'd probably do is half size if this flips. If I was to leverage trade, half size if this flips into a long, and then add the rest if this flips as well into support, and then you would take profits depending on what happened here, because eventually you're looking for a run into these sort of levels. But just again ranging sideways. So don't get it twisted. You've got opportunities here, right? Like, you know, because bear markets are, it's not just down only. You're gonna get moves back to the upside for further distribution, right? Because big players will want to distribute. They're not going to distribute 83 cents. If they wanted to, they probably would have done it already, right? So we're probably going to at some point get a move up across the markets on all of these. But chances are it's probably just going to be a dead cat bounce. That's the problem. We're in a bear market right now, right? It's just going to be a dead cat bounce. But yeah, I'm looking at these coins that haven't had like a proper bull run, because the only alts that have had a proper bull run are the ones that were there trading live in 2020, 2021, right? That's it. Tau will do amazing, in my opinion. You know, FET will do well. I mean, FET's already had its proper bull run. Even in 2023, right, it had an insane run up with the AI narrative FET did. So I think FET's a prime bet, because AI is not going to go anywhere in my opinion. So, you know, FET, Tau, these two are probably really, really good bets. And again, FET's are really, really nice areas as well. Like, you know, we've been talking about this for a while, right? So really nice areas. Like, you don't need much. You just need a few good bets, honestly. And then, like, you know, a little bit of a portfolio in cash, and some of your portfolio in cash to take advantage of newer opportunities, and some in more risky plays, right? Maybe like your low cap shitters, so on and so forth, like a lottery bet basically, just in case you want to catch some stray 100x. But apart from that, just, you know, solid size into a few projects, you'll do, you know, you'll do perfectly fine. Just keeping an eye on these, because look, Tube are still amazing areas, right? JTO, I want JTO a bit lower. Pump, this is what I'm keeping an eye on, because that is an attempted breakout on the supply line on Pump if you take a look from there. So all I want to see is either a successful retest of the supply line, right, or like this zone between 17630 18040 turning into support. Yeah, on the lower time frame, obviously you can literally treat these two like individual levels and just play it. But obviously Pump is a low cap as it is, right? So I don't know if you want to be scalping this from here to here, but if you do, like, you know, there's your range for now. But if this turns into support, then you can see Pump could have a nice move up before it collapses further, because, you know, it's at the verge of a supply line breakout, and you're already out of it. You're currently trying to retest it. It's not retested yet, but, you know, you're staying above it. So as long as you're above this PRZ, I would anticipate Pump to go higher. So definitely keep an eye on this one, Pump. GMX, nothing's changed. Asta, nothing's changed. The dregs. This would be nice on XRP if we got it. I don't know if we get it, but it'd be huge if we did get it. Back down towards 60 cents. This would be amazing. Casper, I believe I've already drawn the... We know on Casper there's some sort of massive... There's two massive wave structures, right? Which one did I draw Cas on? Is it this one? If it's not this one, it's going to be this one. There we go. So just like Hondo, I've split this up for you guys. Casper, number 1, resistance right now, so nothing to do until we either get to number 2 or reclaim number 1 to support, right? That's what we're waiting for. Number 2 would be nice again, honestly. But there's opportunities everywhere. There's Farcoin. Just rejected off the. You guys remember where this is from? I drew this a while back when it was happening. This was the crab, right? 1.618. The primary projection of that hit and then turned to resistance, moved back down. But Farcoin, actually interesting area right now. If you take a look where it is, so this was, there you go. At the start of the stream, this is what I was putting up. Because this is the yearly, right? This is your 2025 low. Move back up, come back down for support, and the 12 hours obviously closed successfully. So if this resistance turns back into support, then obviously this is the range we're playing with. Right, this right here. So that's Farcoin. But yeah, that's just some cryptos, right? There's obviously loads more. You can take a look at, so for example, Lit. Keeping an eye on this one. I think this one will run, especially if Hyperliquid absolutely goes parabolic. It's just gonna have a a rising ship, sort of rising tide, raises all ships kind of effect, right? I think Lighter will go as well. Just keeping an eye on things like Storage. Just space barring, finding M-shape completions. That's a butterfly, right? 1.272. That's a yearly level. So as long as you're above that, you can try easily for a scalp to swing long, right? Or just a scalp long if you don't want to be holding it for a long time. There's a lot. This is stock Philo. I like the look of it. Merlin. This is my long-term bag. TGEN. There's one more. Hang on. I was looking at Pepe because Pepe was looking good. If I go to focus, I think it's in this one. There. Yeah. You could try something like this for Pepe, right? Because look at where Pepe is. From that low, 886, right? That's a bat, right? That's a completed bat. The bat 886 is right there. 2.618 is going to be slightly lower, of course. How much lower is the question? Not that much lower, right? So basically, you have a huge PRZ here for Pepe. This is bat 2.618. There you go. So as long as you're above this PRZ on Pepe on a macro, amazing, right? What more could you ask for? So and on the lower time frame, we could get this, go deeper, right? Rate to the upside, go rate to the downside, and then accumulate again, and then really go up from there. Because it's not going to be like, okay, we bottom, let's go, right? It's not going to be that easy. They will fake you out, in my opinion. But that's Pepe. So that's just a few. Pepe 2 watch list, Bunker LS, and obviously so there. I mean, it's areas where it's so easy to manage risks. Even if you don't want to allocate spot, you can try some leverage positions, just quick trades, right? It could be as easy as this for Pepe, something like this, or you just manual loss of 886 on the lower time frame. You cut if you want to keep it really tight. But there's opportunities here. That's what I'm trying to say. There's opportunities. There are areas where you can take more sort of concrete bets to the upside because you can easily manage your risk. Easily. Like that's why, you know, I keep looking at this on a week to week basis right now, right? It's like it's the exact same thing as to what I was doing, you know, last year, right? Like, did I sell the exact top for the challenge account? Like, no, right? We ran 21k to nearly 60, like 64 nearly at the peak, right? If I'd sold everything at the top, obviously we would have 3x the entire challenge account with nothing but spot. That's huge, right? That's great, and low leverage swings. But obviously I didn't sell the top because my thesis at that point was we're probably going to get one drive higher, which we didn't, right? But that's fine because once invalidation was hit, we got out. I wasn't sat there telling you guys, oh guys, it's okay, we're gonna go up, right? I got you guys out. I got out myself. We still got a clean 2x on the challenge account on crypto, right? Clean 2x. And ever since then, literally just been not much, right? Just waiting sidelined, right? Because you know it's about having dry powder ready for when it's time. And this might not be the time yet, but it's an opportunity. Opportunities are there. So it's having dry powder ready for when there's opportunity. Like if there's opportunity, just take it, in my opinion. Because you're either right or you're wrong, right? But where are you going to take the play, right? If the 86 holding is not enough, then what? Because there's no guarantees that 2.618 is going to go. What's happening right now is the 86 has been holding. So what, you're going to wait for a pump to the 6-month fair value gap high before you long? Like, no, right? Like, you know, when you have tight RO opportunities, you just take it. Like, you don't have to take every single one, but just like one or few now and then, right? Just try them when the opportunity is good. You got out at the right time. Am I gonna, like, you know, buy the exact bottom? Like, probably not, right? I'm definitely not gonna be throwing my entire size in at the exact bottom. That's almost impossible to do. But that's why, you know, we've got strategies. You guys know what my entry strategy is for higher time frame, for swings, right? And you know, those are just what we deploy for those higher time frame entries, spot entries, right? And you just chill. Watch as your back slowly climb up over 3 years, and one day you realize, oh shit, I'm up like 5x, 6x. Because I bought that when it was time to. And, you know, it wasn't there chasing 100x leveraged gains on the 5 minutes when you could have just bought and hold and outperformed most people who don't do that at these lows. You guys are already winning in the sense most people have already left the market, right? This happens every bear market. You'll notice across servers, activities died down, right? Many faces you would have seen in the past, they're not here, right? You know, I'm in a few different servers, and I'm trying to limit the number of servers. I am like extremely much so. I'm going to leave pretty much all servers apart from like one or two, because I just want like a concentrated group of people who I can trust, who I know what they're doing, right? Who I can build with, who I can trade with, I can laugh with, I can share ideas with, I can share losses with, so on and so forth, right? And I'm lucky enough to have found that in this space. So apart from that, I'm just going to leave everything else, right? And it's just, you know, it's just focused. I think it's just focused. Like most people aren't here. Even the people are, like, you know, many people who I met in 2021, 2020, like, you know, they stuck around the 2021 bear market, and 2024, 2025 didn't go their way because no one had Bitcoin. Everyone went all in on alts, and we know how that worked out, right? Alts just nuked. Like I said, I showed you why alts didn't get a proper alt season. So now, like, they aren't around, and it's what it is, right? It's the market, you know, it rewards the patient, right? It takes from the impatient, it gives to the patient. You guys just being here, you're already such a big step ahead. At this time, being here, looking at these ideas, you're already so much ahead than anyone that's not even in the market right now, right? Because yes, people will come back in when the times are good. That's what always happens, but it's too late by then. Because even if you come in when Pepe's at, let's say, for example, it rallies and hits this FPG, what's the point trying to enter here? Right? Yes, you might go higher, but you are going to get chopped out to all hell. It's going to be so stressful. You can come in here and you could take a 30% loss, 50% loss, and Pepe would still be in an uptrend, right? Like if this was, you know, if the trend got taken and a high low was to be put in, you would still be down 50% before you decide to go higher. And time-based capitulation, that's what's going to get people. Every cycle, that's what gets people, right? So so yeah, it's a bit boring, it's a bit dead, but like if you guys want to trade more actively, like that's fine. You guys know how to get the levels. I share every week the key levels, right? I'm just not trading actively myself every single week. I don't need to. I've got a big fat stack of cash I'm ready to deploy, right? There's no point taking the stress to trade the lower time frame right now. I will some point if I get a really high RR trade, if I see something like this, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'm just chilling, right? I had the Lemonade short as well. I had the XT long, right? On top of my already existing cash bag, that adds another like 120k to it. So I don't want to just give back randomly unless I see some really setups like this. Like, you know, I'll let it build out a bit more, but I might end up taking these, right? Just because it's super easy to know when you're wrong versus when you're right. This is a wide stop as well. Obviously, I'm trying to account for like historical deviation with this stop. For anyone that's wanting to enter spot, right? Want to layer into spot. If you want to leverage trade and keep it tight, like you know where your invalidation is, literally around the 886, right? It's that simple, right? You lose the 886, just cut it until you either get to 2.618 or you reclaim the 886. Like you guys know how it works. But there's some cryptos there. And you know, if you guys see anything you like the look of, you see anything and you think, oh, this looks good, just, you know, put in crypto chat or chart request and just tag me, right? Just tag me, because there'll be many. I don't care if you spam, just tag. I'll look at every single chart because we want to find what looks really good, what looks like structure looks impeccable, right? Dash, not bad. Holding the area needs to, right? Again, easy. If you want to take a leverage trade, easy to manage risk on Dash, right? Your invalidation is, as long as you're above this zone, you're in a long. If you exit this zone, and it could be as wide as 7%, or you can keep it as tight as like 4%, right? And you want to take all of these. Eventually, you probably like want to run at these highs here, right? TP1, TP2, so on and so forth. Look at the opportunities we have right now. Look, do I need to explain why this is so significant? That massive pivot point all the way back from 2020. We know it's a very real level because I gave this in 2022 as well. Once again, you're at the same area. Look how real this level is. If it holds, it gives you reactions every single time, and it's currently holding. You're above it. You're above it. You don't take shorts. You attempt longs. Simple as that, right? Now you could try this with spot, literally. You could try it with spot. You don't have to use leverage. All right. Whatever position you're looking at, you're talking about a 4 to 7% like stop loss, right? And then, you know, up to maybe a 35% move up on some sort of dead cat bounce. Like you do not even need to do leverage. But this spot position, you wouldn't enter thinking I'm going to hold it, right? You would take profits on this one. You would treat it like a scalp play. Because there's no way they give you a low here and they just run it up all the way to, like, you know, I just don't see that happening. For proper macro bottoms, it takes a bit of time. It takes a bit of liquidity grabs, sweeps, readjustments of the order book, so on and so forth, right? Just look at the opportunities we got though, right? It's insane. And if the stop's hit, the stop's hit, right? But no one can, like, you know, be mad, or no one can be, you can't be mad at yourself, you can't be mad at like, you know, anyone else who takes the trade here. If not here, where are you going to take it? You don't take a trade because you're guaranteed a reward. You take a trade because at areas where you're guaranteeing yourself the best risk to reward, right? See, brother, that shaker. For Zcash, I'll take a look at Zcash as well. I mean, it's a 1.618, but I wouldn't say that the harmonic you've got in this one, I'll react to it with a love heart. I would say that's not a, I mean, it's not a traditional harmonic anyway, because the D exceeds the A, but the C doesn't exceed. Sorry, the D exceeds the X, but the C doesn't exceed the A, and the B point's a bit too deep. Velo's a stock. Look, if you're looking at stocks, that's a godly completion from that pivot point there. Double bottom sort of structure, right? Above 2024 12-month buy zone high. Look at where we are on the yearly. Above this, I'm interested not in being a short, but in being a long, right? Invalidation again couldn't be simpler. Like if you lose 2024 12-month buy zone high at 10.13, you don't need to be in this stock, in this trade. But above that, like you've got a very nice area to just sort of get into this, right? What was once resistance, right? You've broke above, you've created some sort of M shape, and you've double bottomed trying to create that into support. I think the structure here looks good, right? And if not, they'll come back for a bigger M shape. But you know, I think if you're going to take a chance, it's going to be here on Vela. Hang on. Didn't I give a... Could have sworn I gave an actual thingy for this. Which one did I do it on? I had a like a invalidation for those that wanted to enter this on a lower time frame. I had invalidation. I wanted to highlight why you always listen when I say this is the invalidation. There we go. This was the invalidation I gave, right? And this was the wide one. But I was saying if the thing is lost, if it's a 4% risk, right? If that's lost on hold, you can see why invalidations are important, right? Because yeah, this is lucky that it rated the low and then it came back up pretty much to entry. So if anyone entered this without invalidation, you'd basically be back at break even now. But if you did that, just slap yourself in the face once, because what are you doing, right? If I give invalidation, stick with it. Because what was a 4% loss would have ballooned into a 28% loss if you hadn't set that stop loss. If anyone did enter Merlin and didn't enter here, right? Because I gave the warning saying, look, this is a low cap right now. It's going to be choppy. It's going to be choppy on the lower time frame. But the invalidation is very easy to manage, right? Because it held, that did hold. That was the whole reasoning behind this entry was, okay, that held. Your currently buyers are trying to defend the area that it needs to, a previous gap, so we can try and take a nice trade off that, right? The following candle just overwhelmed the demand with supply, but you would have taken like a 4 point. If you took this exact stop loss, you would have taken like a 4.7% loss, which isn't bad at all. That's fine, right? It's spot on a stock. That's fine, and also a low cap. But if you hadn't set that stops, and this is what trading is all about, you know, this is where people mess up. They enter here, and if they're in the red, they don't cut. Instead, they'll either add more when invalidation has clearly been hit, or they'll just hold, hoping for better, right? So now, you know, if this reclaims, that's fine. Like I've still got this because, like I said, this is my long-term port. I give the invalidation for anyone that wanted that, right? But either this flips or the next entry would be a potential entry at the gap fill, right? Basically towards the lows of this range. That gap fill entry would be nice if it holds on Merlin. But please, if I give invalidation, like, you know, stick with it. Don't just enter a trade thinking of the upside and not of the downside. There's always a downside. My job is to keep you guys safe when I give you guys a potential entry, right? Thank you, CJ. See you later. Oh, for those of you doing Elliott waves and harmonics as well, since my bro Wizard is here, we're going to be doing that later on in the evening. That's the first session. Today's session won't be long. It's going to be intro. You guys know how I like to start. It's going to be the intro session first. So it won't be long. I'll just go over how we're going to structure it. So we're going to be doing Elliott waves first, and then after that we're going to be doing Wyckoff, because there's a few people who want to do Elliott waves only, and there's a few people who want to do Elliott wave plus Wyckoff. Like Elliott wave, once the Elliott wave session is finished, then you know those people will have been done, and then we can move on to Wyckoff, and then how to throw Elliott wave and Wyckoff together, right? That's where the beauty of the system is. But for those doing Elliott waves, obviously they won't be privy to that part of the session, so we'll just get what is Elliott waves out of the way, basically like a crash course on it, and then after that we move on to Wyckoff. It'll be way more chill in the sense that it's not going to be extremely long content like it is for core and advanced, because the topic itself is there's a lot of the topic you can just look online. Basically, I'm not going to tell you stuff that you can just get for free. I'm just going to give you the actual bits of how I use it personally, right? That is not something that's already online for free material. But yeah, we'll do the first session later today. I'll just ping like an hour or something before I go live, bro. I won't keep it too late because you just said you're 2 hours ahead. Is it? That's good. Same. Same here. Um, and we'll do the FIB session tomorrow as well. Last 2 weeks I've not been able to do core because of the illness, so we'll do the FIB session. Module 2 for core starts tomorrow as well for the new batch. Yeah, my own schedule's busted as well, bro. Like from this year I've taken like I've vastly reduced one-on-ones. I've got very few, and I've not opened the one-on-ones to like most people either. And I've changed the way I do it. So like before I used to do one-on-ones basically how we used to do the group sessions, right? The whole reason I did the group session was because it saves time, and I realized it's pretty much what I do anyway. But for the one-on-ones currently, I've only got a couple clients. They're the ones who invested in my hedge fund. Like I've just jacked the price up, but they get like, so basically what I'm doing is we do everything together, but also tailor the sessions to them, and also give them like actual access to when I do my personal buy and sells, not just public challenge accounts, but my own portfolio, right? Like when I make changes to that, so on and so forth. That's what most people were interested in. So just a few clients from my own hedge fund who put money in, just open that to them as like extra. Like if you put this much extra towards me, then you get this. That saves me on time and quality as well. But that also messes up my sleep because everyone's in Asia. Let's take a look. Soy. I'm keeping an eye on this because I do not want to miss the eventual rally this will have. But I also think in terms of risk to reward, it's just not screaming to me here, which is why I've been very hesitant to enter big. Like I would love a stab down into this actual area here. Right, that's what I'd love to stab down into. But if for example if 51.64 doesn't give, I might just try like throw a bit of size into this and just see, okay, if 51.64 holds, then obviously we rally towards 58.65 again. If it doesn't hold, then I'll just cut. Easy invalidation, I'll cut towards until it gets to 43.41. It's 46, 43.41, so on and so forth. Basically, I would always want to see some sort of retest towards the vertical accumulation. The best moves happen when the vertical accumulation gets retested at some point. Yeah, keep an eye on this one. But yeah, there's not much else. Let's take a look at Sidu or Sidu. So this was one of the low cap ones I gave. What I was saying was watch for a breakout, retest a supply line, so on and so forth. Supply line retest not successful so far. But if it does end up being successful, then this could have a nice move in store. But let's go pin it to the hourly. There's your secondary line right over here. But we went over a lot of stocks last on a private stream as well, right? A lot of stock plays. So if anyone missed that one, just watch it if anyone's interested. LUNR flying up. Could print bearish divergence, could not, but I'm keeping an eye on it because I would love for bearish divergence to be printed here. I'll wait for this weekly close, but if this weekly close is below 2025 high, right? And one more thing I can do just for a bit of context is put the actual seller zone down over here. Here like that. A stab up into 26 would be fine, but any sort of bearish divergence here, I'd look to short for now, because I want to buy this down towards like $11 if we get it, not up here. Not until this either gets flipped into clear support, because this is very clear resistance. Otherwise, this is an area to short. Simply. Reclaiming the mid. Nice reclaim of the mid right there, which gave us this move up. If you're above the mid, remember, there's no guarantees these are going to hit. These are uncompleted wave structures. If you're above the mid, you play for the mid to the high of the range, right? Simple. If you get below the mid, you play from the mid to the potential low of the range. Another one, UPS. Keep an eye on it, because if it's going to be a smiley face, that smiley face is going to be here. Okay. So now above the PRZ as well. As long, if you enter here for a higher time frame, invalidation is simple. You just enter within this zone, and if you ever lose the 2.618, you cut. That's it. But otherwise, UPS. Originally, this is Jasper put this on my radar like ages ago. We've waited a long time for the structure completion, right? This could be it, and this could also lead to some beautiful cup and handle that eventually takes us towards the 618, maybe. But UPS, like if it's going to complete the smiley face, it's going to be here. So this is one to watch. Back above all-time highs, that's good. But I don't know if XT is gonna... Here's the question, is XT done with this move? Is this gonna distribute now, or is it... Because, you know, you've had a structure break on the 4 hours. You've not hit the 886 yet. And initial resistance, sort of this area, right? That's why I marked it out. If you look at the sort of weekly, was it? Or... Yeah, there's a buyer-seller zone on the weekly here, right? You've gone to the mid of that, turn into resistance. So as long as you're above 53, I'm fine. You might go and reclaim, but if 56 keeps SFPing, that's a very nice area to short somewhere within this range here, 56 to 60 for XT. Because for now, that's weakness. That's, you know, that can't be denied as weakness, locally speaking. So let's see how this plays out. I want eliminated die. Complete some sort of M shape if it's truly bullish. Corvi from the low once again up to 90. This is such a nice one. Same PRZs, right? Just going sideways within it. And I might be greedy, but I would love for that. I would love just raid this entire range. I would love. But I don't know if we will. So either I play the flip at 95 to run it up, or I get the actual entries that I want down over there. Because this is a massive gap fill right now. But anyway, I think that's going to be it from me today, guys. I just wanted to do like a quick stream, go over some cryptos, go over some stocks, like see how everyone's doing. But yeah, just, you know, TLDR, I think hopefully, and I hope so, we get some more blood, right? So we can really buy some of these alts at dirt cheap prices. But even if not, you've seen there's opportunities right now as we speak on altcoins. So like on many altcoins, there's opportunities as we speak, even on some stocks, to take some, like, you know, tied to risk to reward plays, right? So obviously, whether you guys just want to chill and buy on the high time frame structure confirmation, or you want to maybe take that trade as well on leverage, or even on spot, just to make some quick cash, is up to you, right? Yeah, definitely keep an eye on it, and just don't forget where we are on the charts, right? We're approaching, many alts are approaching huge areas, and you know, if these areas fail, then we're going to get gutter prices. If they don't, these are the areas that's going to lead to dead cat bounces before the next drawdown, perhaps, right? But if you have a tight RR play to the upside, you know, I think it would be I would personally be trying to take some of those bets because, like I said, bear markets isn't going to be down only. There's going to be dead cat bounces to the upsides for players to distribute their bags further before you go lower, so on and so forth, right? So let me end this recording here, and for those of you doing one sec, for those of you doing Elliott waves, I will see you guys later in the evening. Okay, no problem, brother. It's very tight, so just stick to the invalidation and you'll be fine. But yeah, in this here, I'll put this one on YouTube.